One of the things about the Hulu documentary opposed to the YouTube one that's like 46 parts is that the Hulu documentary had a more condensed history about Nature Boy and the cult. But one of the things that stuck out to me is that the Hulu documentary made it seem as though the cult was something that happened to the cult members and not something that they were willing participants in. I'm going to go on a limb, and this may be an unpopular opinion. I believe everybody involved in that cult should be in fucking jail. And if you watch that whole thing on YouTube, you would agree why. I'm gonna make a list of people who were either in the documentary and came off a lot more innocent than they were, or weren't in the documentary and were pretty fucking terrible. Starting with Velvet. The documentary made Velvet seem like she was just this damsel in distress that Nature Boy kind of captured and held against her will. Velvet was a terrible person. Velvet never got along with any of the other female cult members. The fight that they showed in the documentary where they pit them against each other, that was her idea. The documentary doesn't really talk about this. As far as like attempts to leave, Velvet tried to leave or started to leave maybe 20 times. And this isn't really a good thing, but Nature Boy, in his own weird, sick way, was in love with her to the very end. Even when he got sentenced for life, he still wanted to be with Velvet, which is a piece of shit. Velvet's father dedicated his life to bringing her home and to putting Nature Boy behind bars. In one of the attempts that Velvet made to leave, she calls her father for money to send her money to come home. On 2 occasions, she keeps the money, never comes home, and gives it to Nature Boy. But that's not all. Velvet turns around and has a baby with a rival cult leader. If that wasn't bad enough, Velvet would constantly go online because by this point it's 2021. So TikTok and bingo was a really big thing, and they all participated in it. Velvet would constantly go online and show how her daughter is calling the rival cult leader daddy. And she knew this would get a rise out of Nature Boy, and she did it constantly to the point where he had tried to break into the gang member's house, in which eventually got arrested. She enticed a lot of violence with Nature Boy and other people. Oh, she also had a baby with the rival cult member. And then when Nature Boy got arrested, she had a baby with one of the other guys in the cult, hopefully trying to start a new cult with him. And it just kind of fell flat. Velvet is a piece of shit. To the point where her father actually died trying to take Nature Boy down. Velvet was a awful person. And the documentary tries to make her seem like she's innocent and she was a disgusting person. Next after Velvet, who also was in the documentary, was the girl named Kendra, who went by Sheba. Sheba was not as aggressive as the other women in the cult, but she did some very terrible things. One of the most egregious things that Sheba does is that she actually has a child with True, who was also in the documentary. Sheba raised that child in the house with Nature Boy. There's been speculation that the child was probably abused. The child was yelled at and beat constantly by Nature Boy, and he grew up in that toxic environment, and she was okay with that. And that didn't cause her to leave, nor did it cause True to leave. Also, Shiva was one of the most violent. Whenever Nature Boy would pit them against each other to fight, Sheba did it with a smile on her face, and I think they even showed that in the documentary. She was also very mean-spirited. There was another girl who was not in the documentary named Malia. Malia was so sick that she actually had fluid around her organs, her lungs, and her heart and her throat, to the point that she was going to die. Shiva, on several occasions, physically assaulted Malia and berated her, even chased her out the door when she had a nervous breakdown or whatever. Shiva was a piece of shit. She's another one in the documentary. They tried to make it seem like, oh, well, she's so good. She wasn't shit either. She was with Nature Boy almost to the end. Another one that's not in the documentary at all, but is a terrible human being, is this girl named Star. Star, I believe, was in Baltimore, and she was in constant communication with Nature Boy. In one of their conversations about her joining the cult, Star tells Nature Boy that she has children, and he tells her, oh, just put him in foster care. He said that, and she said that he said that. She tells her story on how she told her sister that if she leaves her kids, her 5 kids, Star has 5 kids, and can she leave them with her sister? If I was her sister, I would tell her, you can leave and you need to give me rights to these kids and don't you ever fucking come back. And she left her 5 kids with her sister to join that cult. And the thing is, Nature Boy didn't even like her like that. He was not into her at all, and she did the most. She was twerking on him, doing all kinds of stuff, carrying on live. He did not see it for her. Another one who was really terrible, who wasn't in the documentary, was Ephro. Ephro, to this day, is Nature Boy's one of his followers. She lied under oath about Nature Boy, about the cult and Nature Boy's abuse of these people. She's one of the ones that led Janae back into the house, and then Nature Boy went to grape her. As far as the men, there's 2 people in the documentary. The first one I mentioned is True. True belongs in fucking jail because True has the child, as I mentioned earlier, with Sheba. And True let that child grow up in that toxic cult environment, get berated and abused by Nature Boy, and would beat his child because Nature Boy told him to. True did not leave the cult until Nature Boy was in jail and then started talking big shit after that. True was a bitch. He also went on this viral tangent about how he may have possibly molested his sister and then backtracks that on how it was all a joke. If you've only seen the Hulu documentary, do not let it fool you. All of those people need to be in fucking jail.